Last week, the Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, said Nigeria's GDP would grow by 2.5% in 2018. Despite the constraints facing the manufacturing industry, analysts are beginning to wonder how government would achieve the set target released by the government spokesperson. Joining us on the news at 10 is the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Muda Yusuf. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I know you were looking at the NOI polls much earlier before the break, and you wanted to say something about, some of the factors that they pointed out as reasons why we don't have a conducive business environment in Nigeria.
Well, I think the outcome of the polls only goes to reinforce the challenges that the manufacturing sector has been grappling with over the years. Nothing has changed in the structure of the challenges. And the issue is that over the years, the sector has been grappling with the challenge of high operating and production costs. And that has been, creating the challenge of competitiveness, that has been affecting productivity. And some of the variables that drive this are the things that have been highlighted in the survey. As a mention of the exchange rate, the high exchange rate, and sometimes the unpredictability of the foreign exchange policy. We have the high cost of fund. Cost of fund could be as high as 30%. And it's very difficult to function in that sector with that kind of interest rate. We had serious challenges with logistics. I just saw reports about the roads and all of that. In the absence of a functioning railway system, you have to move virtually all the freight and human beings by road. Yeah. That is taking a huge toll on the cost of distribution and logistics for the manufacturers. Then, of course, you have the challenges of energy, which is well known, although some efforts are being made, but it's still a major issue, which is impacting on the productivity of the sector. So all these combined have been impacting on the margins of industrialists. The margins have been shrinking. In some cases, the margins have even disappeared because it is not easy, in most cases, to transfer the cost to the consumers. There is high level of consumer resistance now. So that is impacting a lot on the survival and sustainability of industries.
You just painted a really bleak picture, but this is what manufacturers face every year, and this is what is known in the business industry every year. So looking at the projection that the Minister of Information has given, that GDP will hit 2.5% next year, do you see that actually becoming feasible given the factors you have just pointed out?
Different sectors contribute to the growth of the GDP. For instance, the service sector accounts for over 50% of GDP. The service sector don't face the kind of challenges that the industrial sector faces. You don't need, as a software developer, for instance, you don't need a 500 kVA generator. You don't need to be worrying about diesel, you don't need to be worrying about the Apapa ports, you don't need to be worrying about checkpoints. You don't need, you don't worry about so many things. So the peculiarity of the real sector of the economy is what will actually slow down the growth. But in other areas, of course, the prospects are there, especially now that the macroeconomic fundamentals are looking positive in terms of, to some extent, the exchange rates. We are seeing some stability, and we are seeing some reforms in the area of institutional reforms. We are seeing some efforts in the area of ease of doing business being driven by the Vice President under the PEBEC initiative. So some efforts are being put in place, but we need a great deal of work to do in the area of promoting the real sector, because these challenges have been with us for a long time, and it will take some time to fix.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muda Yusuf. I wish we had more time. Okay. It's been a pleasure speaking with you on the News at 10.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I'm going over to Abuja now. Ibrahim Adra standing by with more on the News at 10. Hi, Ibrahim.
Always a pleasure to see you, Amarachi. Now, as the federal government moves to increase the nation's GDP growth rate, there are new efforts to resuscitate the mining sector to enhance foreign direct investment in the country. But certain challenges in the sector, such as illegal mining, have proven difficult to check, with some illegal mining operators having operated freely in the country for decades. And for these reasons, all regulatory agencies in the sector have been brainstorming in Abuja with a view to upgrading operational compliance in the sector. Our correspondent, Achuri Ngilale, reports.
With the federal government preparing to offer machinery and 2.5 billion naira in loan support to artisanal miners in the country, a crucial new effort to capture all illegal mining operators and a trackable database is entering a new phase, with stakeholders increasingly optimistic that a new dawn is on the horizon in the sector. But progress for Nigeria in the sector is not in everyone's interest. An estimated 1,000 illegal mining sites currently exist in the country, and while several illegal miners have been arrested in recent months, over 1 trillion naira worth of minerals have been illegally taken out of Nigeria over the past few years.
Secretary of the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development.
The effects of illicit partnerships between illegal mining operators and past government officials are well understood by those now moving to close the loopholes.
Until and unless we address the issue of governance, in whatever respect you want to look at governance in the mining sector, we would not have started to address issues bedeviling the sector.
Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University and mining expert Ibrahim Garba reminds stakeholders that sustained progress requires buy-in from the federating units.
And what do we have now? I don't know whether they agree with me. Widespread corruption and lawlessness in the mines field. Rights infringement, disruptions, extortion of mining activities by state, local governments and communities. Isn't that what we're having now, in all sincerity?
According to experts, ultimate success will require the regularization of legitimate operators and continuity in the strict issuance and monitoring of operating licenses from administration to administration into the future. Ajuri Ngilale, Channels Television News.
Many thanks, Ajuri. Now to the judiciary. A day after he was returned to Port Harcourt from Jos to face murder charges, suspected ritual killer Ifeanyi Dike was today arraigned in a Port Harcourt Magistrate Court in Rivers State. Dike, who is alleged to have raped and killed an 8-year-old girl, was later remanded in prison custody. The presiding magistrate Amadi Amadina earlier declined jurisdiction over the matter. He also referred the matter to the Department of Public Prosecution for advice and adjourned the matter indefinitely. The counsel to the defendant, however, told journalists that his client is willing to face trial and asked the prosecution to expedite action on the case.
Justice to be achieved and achieved adequately, the defense must be represented. Justice is not only for the states doing the prosecution. Justice is also for the defense, and that is what we have come here to see that we do for the purpose of fast-tracking justice, for the purpose of seeing that justice be done. The law is not sentimental, neither is the law emotional. The law is the law. The law is not morality. The law is what it ought to be. If you say somebody killed somebody, as it remains a mere allegation, except and only when proven by a court of competent jurisdiction.
Meanwhile, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Justice Ibrahim Auta, is asking judges in the country to be bold, fair and firm in their decisions and ensure speedy dispensation of justice. Justice Auta also warned the judges against being parties to any enterprise that would obstruct the course of justice. He was speaking at a ceremony to declare open the 2017-2018 legal year of the Federal High Court in Abuja. One after the other, judges filed into the courtroom of the Federal High Court in Abuja for a special court session to mark the 2017-2018 legal year. All seated, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court urged the judges to maintain good speed while dispensing justice and remain bold, just like they did when they declined the application to stop President Buhari from contesting the 2015 general elections.
Despite all pressure to stop certain members of the National Assembly as a result of their abandonment of their party that brought them to power, the court insisted that every candidate must be allowed to face his or her popularity. Secondly, the attempt to stop the president from contesting was also rejected by his court. This is because we in the Federal High Court prefer a level playing ground to all candidates.
The Solicitor General of the Federation, who represented the Attorney General of the Federation, advocates a justice delivery system that protects the rights of all citizens.
The judiciary must, as a matter of priority, take steps to facilitate the speedy dispensation of justice and engender greater public respect and confidence in the courts.
Senior lawyers present at the occasion bear their minds on how the judiciary is faring and their expectations as the new legal year begins.
No doubt the Federal High Court have performed incredibly well, as aptly captured by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court.
Well, I think the Federal High Court has done very well in the handling of political and then criminal cases, especially ones having to do with terrorism and money laundering. And I also expect that in the coming legal year, we'll see speedy dispensation of justice and bold judgments emanating from the court.
As the new legal year of the Federal High Court commences, lawyers and litigants will be waiting to see if the Chief Judge will indeed match his words with actions as regards speedy dispensation of justice.
Notwithstanding security threats ahead of the Anambra governorship election on November 28th, police authorities have penciled down 21,084 officers to secure the election process. At a briefing with members of the civil society organizations in Abuja, the Inspector General of Police gave the assurance that no group or individual will be allowed to disrupt the election. Meanwhile, the Anambra State Governor, Willie Obiano, has inaugurated a 13-member governing council to take up the management and operations of the Anambra State Health Insurance Scheme. Inaugurating the members in a brief ceremony at the Governor's Lodge, Governor Obiano told them to be efficient, transparent and committed. He explains that the beauty of the scheme lies in ensuring that many people who ordinarily cannot access healthcare services have quality healthcare with ease and at no cost.
The cost of healthcare services is on the rise, owing to the cost of procuring medical equipment and drugs, in addition to the nature of sicknesses that are expensive to treat. It is for this reason that the state government has introduced the Anambra State Health Insurance Scheme to take care of poor citizens who cannot pay their hospital bills. A visit to 3 hospitals across the state reveals quite a lot of challenges faced by patients in paying for health services rendered, as well as the experience of health workers in the whole scenario.
The drugs the doctor asked me to take and the injection, I couldn't afford the money. So at the process, I lost my baby.
By the time I want to deliver the baby, they say that they're going to do an operation, and they say that my bill is 130,000.
The story is the same at St. Charles Borromeo Mission Hospital, Onitsha, and at Iyenu Mission Hospital, Ogidi, as debts have accumulated. But the show must go on because the Hippocratic Oath must not be flouted.
I already inherited about 7.something million when I came in. As it stands now. In fact, a few months ago, when we cross-checked the outstanding bill, it was at 5.something million.
Governor Willie Obiano, having launched the state health insurance scheme, also inaugurates the 13-member governing board to help in manning the scheme. He asks them to ensure health for all in the state, irrespective of location, creed or background.
The importance of this health insurance scheme is first to be able to get many more people who ordinarily would not receive medical attention because they don't have money to pay. But with this arrangement, they will now be treated and the death test will be paid. To jumpstart this scheme, the Anambra State government will be putting with immediate effect 200 million naira.
The council will, among other things, assist in selecting health facilities to be accredited for use under the scheme, and selected hospital facilities will be properly upgraded for better results.